Welcome to the episode that Anthony Joshua most definitely did not want to be leaked, revealed, analyzed, and ridiculed by millions of people who haven't worked out since 2017, because today is the first day of training camp for a Jays matchup with Jake Paul. The YouTuber boxer-threat to professional heavyweights in the largest circus punch fest of the decade. And believe me, the truth makes the Kardashians appear like a serene church choir. Regardless of what you think happened at camp, AJ entered the room as if he had just realized that the boxing world would banish him if he lost to a guy whose fanbase still uses the word bro, that his pride was on life support and that rent was due. Trainers were muttering. The cameras were in motion. Everyone in the building was aware that this was a full-fledged effort to rescue boxing from humiliation rather than merely a training camp. This episode reveals every secret, every error, and every moment AJ understood. Jake Paul isn't just a fight, he's a potential career obituary from the initial warm-up stretch to the last punch that shook the gym walls like a Marvel explosion. Fasten your seatbelt. They never intended for you to see this all access. This is Legends Boxing, and violence is going to break out. There were no uplifting songs or heroic speeches to begin the first day of training camp. The entire room froze when Anthony Joshua entered the gym as if he had just received a prophecy that read, "Lose to Jake Paul and the boxing gods will revoke your membership." A trainer stopped talking in the middle. The assistants held their breath. The gym bags appeared anxious as well. Everyone knew what was at stake. Titles, belts, and legacy were no longer relevant. The goal was to stop a YouTuber from completely altering the history of the sport, instead of shaking hands. AJ's instructors greeted him with terror masquerading as inspiration. They behaved like generals greeting their final combatant. If Jake Paul lands one lucky punch, we're all changing careers. Their glances conveyed, and AJ sensed it as well. His expression conveyed the quiet pressure of a celebrity who is aware that everyone is waiting for him with popcorn, ready to meme him into oblivion if he makes even one mistake. It wasn't your typical day. It was the season of survival. AJ's warm-up appeared to be a man punishing the treadmill for being there, even before gloves were put on. The memory of Jake Paul knocking out people whose names the internet still can't pronounce right drove every step, like anxious parents watching their child retake the same exam he failed last summer. The trainers continued to sneak peeks at AJ and whisper. They were more concerned about the shame tax that comes with losing to the Paul brothers than they were about power or speed. Additionally, the gym speakers played a mashup of Jake Paul's exit music as soon as AJ began stretching. It was said to have been an accident. Another person accused Bluetooth of betrayal. However, it was clear that the universe was trolling. AJ gave the speaker system a side-eye that might have burned metal, but he didn't flinch. Stretching more forcefully, he seemed to be attempting to extract the humiliation from his muscles before the media did it for him. The tension in the gym was like fog in a scary movie as the drill started. With the anger of a guy attempting to destroy every influencer who ever believed boxing was simple, AJ was hammering pads. Every blow reverberated through the space so forcefully that the walls most likely reevaluated their professional decisions. Even though everyone understood they were coaching for their professional life, trainers nodded angrily, acting as though nothing had changed. A bad day at camp might result in Olympic-level internet humiliation. So it wasn't simply a bad day. During pad training, AJ slipped a little bit more slowly than he meant to. This would normally be acceptable. Everyone was terrified today, like if a fire alarm had just gone off. Trainers stopped. The assistants froze. There was an audible gasp from someone in the back. Twitter will announce the end of the heavyweight era before lunchtime if he makes a mistake like that against Jake Paul. The terror persisted like a tenacious echo rebounding off the gym mirrors. But AJ quickly regained his footing. One of AJ's coaches pulled out a notepad full of Jake Paul traits halfway through camp. They examined Jake's footwork like scientists examining alien DNA. It resembled a survival manual titled How Not to Get Memmed rather than a strategy book. Like detectives watching video from a crime scene, they examined his blows. Nothing was too minor to become fixated on, including every viewpoint, habit, and peculiarity. Because it was impossible to lose to Jake. It was a nightmare to lose to Jake. Moving like a guy desperate to outbox his own reflection. AJ began shadowboxing next. He had a controlled, precise, and incisive form. However, the pressure was like a heavyweight cape hanging over him. Every action had consequences. Each feint seemed to make a statement. He was not preparing for a typical opponent. He was training for a man who managed to persuade the algorithm that he was unstoppable. Millions of people will also believe it if the algorithm does. A number of reporters entered the gym as the door opened, prepared to record history or catastrophe. If any of you ask about Jake Paul's power, you're leaving with dental issues. AJ glared at them, making them fearful. They silently observed, recording each blow as if it were proof for a future documentary about the day boxing nearly collapsed. The excitement that permeated the entire gym was captured by their cameras, which buzzed nervously. Then there was sparring. At that point, the reality became apparent. Instead of treating his sparring partner as a teammate, AJ viewed him as a metaphor for all influencers who have ever used gloves to gain influence. The blows were vicious. The footwork was excellent. It had a fierce energy. However, there was something more profound behind it all, a glimmer of anxiousness disguising itself as concentration. Anthony Joshua was battling more than just a guy. He was battling a possible legacy catastrophe. The trainers became even more suspicious after the first round went too well. They frantically reminded AJ in hushed tones to be vigilant, perceptive, and flawless. They were correct when they kept saying things like this: fight is different, no mistakes, and stay locked in. This was PR warfare, not just a brawl. This was insurance for one's reputation. This was the boxing community protecting itself from a potential future in which Jake Paul is regarded as the sport's spokesperson. AJ delivered a blow that sounded like thunder in the middle of a sparring match. His companion faltered. The trainers gave heartfelt, relieved cheers. AJ, however, did not grin. He didn't rejoice. He was not satisfied. He appeared worn out from strain, expectations, and the burden of preventing a YouTuber with irrational self-confidence from taking over an entire sport. His expression made it clear that this camp was not for training. It was a conflict of emotions. AJ leaned against the ropes after the last round, gasping for air and drenched in perspiration as if he had been fighting gravity. His trainers circled him, chatting quickly, planning, and evaluating. Rather than training a heavyweight champion for a boxing battle, they behaved like scientists deciphering a nuclear bomb. With the gravity of someone who is aware that everyone is watching him through binoculars. AJ listened in silence and took in every word. Rumors were already circulating outside the ring. Murmurs regarding AJ's shape. Concerns over Jake Paul's readiness. Conjecture regarding camp footage that has been leaked. Commentators were forecasting catastrophe. Dominance was anticipated by fans. Memes were being predicted by casual observers. As he stood there, AJ realized that his first day had not only been captured on camera, but had also been analyzed, evaluated, and exaggerated before he had even returned home. That was the moment's weight. The pressure was that. That was camp's first day. And suppose day one looks like this, ... The remainder of this camp was bound to become much more untamed. The internet erupted like someone hit a beehive with a frying pan when clips from AJ's first day surfaced, which was to be expected given that nothing is private in 2025. Crime scenes were created in the comment sections. The boxing analysts began to perspire profusely. AJ's footwork was being reviewed by TikTok coaches who have never boxed before, as if they were trying out for a ringside position on ESPN. People zoomed close on each punch, paused the video frame by frame, and pretended that finding a tiny error would earn them a PhD in combat gossip studies. The internet responded as though AJ had fallen through the ropes and landed in another time zone when one film showed him slipping a little. One random guy noted, AJ looking shaky already. Despite the fact that he was wheezing from climbing steps, the loudest fans were those of Jake Paul, like an army driven by illusion and prime energy. They overran every platform. The notion that AJ appeared sluggish, elderly, anxious, and not ready for a creator-built athlete was enough to give boxing purists the chills. A creator-built athlete? Hardly. However, Jake's followers embraced it as if it were scripture on stone tablets. AJ's supporters, meanwhile, retaliated with the ferocity of unpaid interns. They described him as frightening, explosive, and acute. As if nostalgia qualified as training camp footage, they shared old knockout clips. They claimed that the fight would resemble a fridge pursuing a toddler and that Jake Paul was headed toward career suicide. No one was impartial. Everyone was yelling predictions at one another on the internet, which was divided like a custody dispute. Celebrities then began to weigh in. As celebrity commentary serves as the catalyst for all contemporary scandals. When Floyd Mayweather uploaded a side-eye emoji without any context, rumor pages went into overdrive. Eddie Hearn said that AJ appeared focused, but fans spent hours over-announcing it because of the brief pause before the term focused. Everyone felt Deontay Wilder was making fun of Jake when he laughed non-stop for 30 seconds on Instagram Live without identifying himself. Influencers went one step further. Jake Paul may expose the heavyweight system according to a 40-minute analysis by one YouTuber. Another influencer, who previously sparred for 12 seconds before retiring mid-round, maintained that Jake had the speed advantage. In response, Twitter severely ridiculed the individual, causing him to deactivate within an hour. Then thousands of memes appeared. Edits of AJ appearing anxious. Jake's early celebration was edited. AJ was given how not to lose to a YouTuber textbooks by trainers. A horrified AJ was shown jogging in one meme as a massive Jake Paul head pursued him like a monster from a horror film. In another, Jake was seen carrying a pokeball containing AJ. There is no mercy, no breaks, and no shame at all on the internet. When word got out that Jake Paul's crew had somehow viewed the leaked video beforehand, the controversy intensified. According to commentary pages, Jake grinned like a villain in a Marvel after-credits sequence when he watched it. Within minutes, Jake liked a tweet that said, "Jake watching a J-Train like he's already buying victory champagne." The boxing community had a complete meltdown as a result. Eventually, Jake uploaded a video of himself grinning at the camera and declaring, "He don't look ready." That one statement had a greater impact than numerous championship fights. Fans of AJ got into a panic. Fans of Jake went into party mode. Popcorn was opened by neutral supporters, according to reports. Even AJ's coaches were taken aback because they didn't want Jake to feel self-assured enough to speak negatively at first light. However, a second clip depicting AJ smashing the heavy bag with enough energy to change the Earth's rotation was later leaked. He had a hideous, angry, and piercing appearance. Punches resounded like thunderclaps. The bag appeared traumatized, according to people. The public's perception quickly changed once more when Twitter began referring to it as the funeral rehearsal. Host, like Jake Paul, should reconsider his hobbies, and this. Man, AJ is punching like he's trying to. Delete the influencer industry appeared out of nowhere, however. The mayhem didn't stop there. Think articles with dramatic headlines like "Is boxing ready for Jake Paul as a contender?" The article's Anthony Joshua's pride on the line. What day one means. And Anthony Joshua's pride on the line inflamed everything but had no real meaning. The comment sections resembled political arguments. But the politicians were boxing glove-wearing men without shirts. Some commentators said that AJ's first day appeared excessively intense and emotional, as though he was practicing with anger rather than intelligence. They cautioned that Jake Paul might use his feelings as a covert weapon. Fans tore the theory apart like coupons within 4 minutes. Nobody thought Jake Paul could emotionally outwit AJ. Maybe physically, but never emotionally. Even legendary boxers weighed in. The internet took Mike Tyson's statement that AJ needed to stay disciplined as a caution not to swing recklessly. If Tyson is telling you to stay calm, you know chaos is coming. A commentator joked Jake Paul posted another comment during all of this chaos, saying, "We spar tomorrow." It wasn't obvious what he meant, but it didn't matter. It was seen as a taunt by fans. Boxing sites take a screenshot of it. It was discussed by reporters. Jake had perfected the art of speaking very little while creating the biggest disturbance, which sent the entire internet into a frenzy. AJ also saw the message. He didn't say anything in response, but the following leaked video made it clear. He was moving quickly, intently, and viciously while on the double-end bag. Each blow appeared to be a form of revenge. Every action appeared to be in preparation for a demolition project. Instructions were being yelled by trainers with the urgency of the military. AJ appeared to be a man who was seeking revenge rather than merely training. The intensity of online replies doubled. AJ was described as scary by some, possessed by others, and moving like someone told him Jake stole his Wi-Fi password in a widely shared post. The exaggeration was absurd, but it didn't matter because it was trending. Jake, meanwhile, posted a training video of himself striking pads with quick combinations while grinning as if he had a secret. His supporters stated he looked sharp, while a Jay supporter said he looked like he was practicing for a TikTok dance. Fans, who were neutral, remarked the bout was beginning to feel more like a chaos-sponsored crossover event than boxing. It was pushed further by celebrities. Logan Paul predicted that Jake would shock the world because, of course, he did family loyalty above reason. Snoop Dogg claimed he wanted front-row seats to the most serious fight in history. "Let's go, champ!" exclaimed Shannon Briggs on Instagram, just because it's in the same realm as a fight announcement. The most bizarre turn of events came when a leaked video of a Jay's coach discussing Jake's shortcomings, such as his predictable overhand and his YouTube habits, went viral despite the fact that nobody understood what YouTube habits meant. The algorithm tossed confetti after someone tweeted, "Jake Paul got exposed for having YouTube habits." The world seemed to forget that this was just a Jay's first day of camp as the chaos spiraled out of control. The problem with contemporary boxing, meanwhile, is that the drama outside the ring is more powerful than half of the punches within. However, none of this was as good as what followed because none was prepared for the pressure, stakes, and craziness that would follow these leaks. When did day 2 come? Day 1 was only the warm-up, the boxing world realized. Instead of training camp footage, the boxing community woke up the morning following the leaked clips acting as though someone had dropped World War news. Depending on whose fanbase paid their Wi-Fi fee on time, headlines everywhere screamed either dominance or calamity. AJ seems prepared to take back the heavyweight title, according to half of the internet. According to the other half, he appeared to be an anxious Uber driver, attempting to prevent Jake Paul from giving his entire career a 3-star review. There was only one thing that everyone could agree upon. The situation was becoming much more serious than a fight. The solemn expression on AJ's face caused the heavy bags to reevaluate their life's mission. Everyone could feel it, as if it didn't want to interrupt whatever emotional wave AJ brought with him. The floor squeaked less, the trainers spoke quieter, and the assistants moved more quickly. The tumult of yesterday lingered like a thunderstorm. AJ didn't appear shaken or ashamed. Everyone secretly hoped they weren't chosen as the next sparring partner, because of the way he exuded motivation. However, the repercussions were already being felt. Reporters questioned AJ's poise, speculating that fighting a YouTuber may be more stressful than taking on seasoned champs. Whether pride was impairing his concentration was a topic of discussion among pundits. Every little detail became a global disaster as fans argued constantly. Even sports betting websites fluctuated odds as if a roulette wheel, rather than punches, were determining the outcome of the fight. This was entertainment anarchy on fire, not boxing news anymore. Jake Paul was enjoying every minute of it. Like a villain who had just received the screenplay rewrite he desired, he went online and grinned into the camera. His taunts that AJ appeared overworked, underconfident, and not ready for the problem child almost sent boxing purists into retirement. They were disgusted, furious, and curious enough to keep the algorithm overflowing as they viewed Jake's movies. Jake's assurance wasn't a tactic. Rather, it was fuel that he was spilling all over the place. The drama was only heightened by AJ's silence in the meanwhile. In combat sports, silence is rarely serene. Pressure results from silence. Plotting is implied by silence. A man who is silent is either honing his weapons or reconsidering every choice he has. Made since 2016, fans were driven insane by the uncertainty of not knowing which version of AJ was living in. They required responses. They required clarification. They sought evidence that AJ wasn't collapsing under the pressure of an opponent fueled by memes. That revelation occurred during a private meeting that was not intended to be disclosed, but it naturally did. A little video of AJ using extremely vicious combos to destroy a sparring partner went viral in a matter of minutes. Some claimed that AJ was acting as though he intended to erase the opinions seen on the internet. In the backdrop, trainers were essentially in prayer. The message was clear to everyone watching. AJ was changing rather than collapsing. The video immediately changed people's opinions. The heavyweight monster was back, fans yelled. Critics acknowledged that AJ appeared dangerous. For a brief while, even fans of Jake Paul became silent, a rare miracle. However, the peace was short-lived. In response, Jake posted a video of himself working vigorously, grinning self-assuredly, and pretending that everything AJ did was routine and unimpressive. And for some reason, the mayhem was rekindled by that smile. Everyone was aware that Jake would not back down. He was, if anything, S.